Hi everyone, and welcome back to Unboxed. Last week, we talked about what stress was, we learned how to identify it, and how to know whether or not we're experiencing it. Today, we're going to talk about something very important, which is how to manage that stress. Now, in learning how to cope and deal and manage with that stress, we can learn to remove stressors from our lives. We can have a better handle on if there are things we cannot control, how do we work our way around it, and we can lower the impact that that stress has on us. I do want to remind you, last week we mentioned that stress affects us all differently, and the way we respond is also different, even if it might be the same stressor. So, when we're talking about coping mechanisms and techniques and how to manage stress, that will also vary from person to person. What might work for me may not work for you, and vice versa. So we're just going to give you general things that you can do, and of course, if these general things that you can apply on an everyday basis does not help reduce your stress, then you'll have to think about talking to someone, which is one of the things we will mention when managing your stress. So let's get right into it. The first thing we have to do when managing stress is acknowledge the signs, which we talked about in our last episode. So once you've figured out that these are the things that I'm feeling, either physical, emotional, or behavioral, then we can say, I am stressed out right now. That is the first step. Where do I take it from there? Secondly, we can indulge in some physical activity. And I don't necessarily mean hitting up the gym, but if that works for you, then excellent. Physical activity just means keeping active. Walking in the park. If your neighborhood is safe enough, you can walk around the block. If your yard has space, do a little bit of light jogging back and forth or some brisk walking back and forth. Of course, what you do depends on your energy levels, on your age, and on whatever other physical illnesses that you may have. But just keeping active is important. Thirdly, get more sleep. Sleep is very important because without sleep, we can feel stressed out. But here's the thing, stress can cause us not to sleep. So what do? There are a few things that you can do to improve the quality of your sleep, like setting a set time for which you go to bed every night. Of course, I know it's not always possible, and it depends on whether or not you have assignments, homework, projects, late nights at work. It varies, and it really depends on what you're doing and obviously what your life looks like. But if we can try, let's always set, depending on our own routine, remember I mentioned everybody's individual, a specific time to go to bed. By that time, you would have already had dinner, you would have already showered, and now it's time to relax and unwind. Now, setting your time to go to bed doesn't mean you're going to fall asleep immediately. I know, we all have the habit. As soon as I get into bed, scroll social media or try to catch up on all the messages that we couldn't catch up on during the day. However, if you are going to do that, set a time limit for it and know that you should try to be asleep by a certain time every night. Doing this kind of wires our internal clock, so when that time comes around, our mind automatically makes our body feel tired and we're like, okay, yes, I should be sleeping by now. Taking a warm bath before bedtime always helps. Now, I know a lot of people take cold showers, obviously because of the weather and everything else, but cold showers actually wake you up more. So instead of making you feel relaxed and calm, they kind of jump you. So try to take a warm shower instead. Now, most times we might read before going to sleep or watch TV before going to sleep. If we're doing those things, they should be things that don't necessarily engage us very much, because if we are super focused, we're not going to fall asleep. So if you do want to watch a program or if you do want to read a book, just let it be something that won't really engage your mind too much. For some people, listening to calming sounds before falling asleep helps them. Now, you can also try little things like aromatherapy before going to sleep. You light a candle or some incense, something that relaxes you, that you can focus on the smell of it. But please be careful. If you are going to light anything, to put it out before you do fall asleep. We don't want to cause any fires, okay? Something else to try is eating well. I know everybody knows hangry is a real thing. Yes, if we don't eat on time or eat the right types of food, it can affect our mood. And when we're stressed out, that will increase. However, if we make sure that we have a balanced diet, we're eating at the right time, we are taking in the meals we're supposed to, then those things can help us in terms of reducing the level of stress that we're feeling. Now, we did mention that one thing that can happen when you're stressed out is that you can either eat too much or comfort eat or stress eat, or you might have no appetite. But if this is happening, consult someone and they can advise you on what to do.